Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Snow White expected to bomb. US and UK premieres now canceled. Last week they told us they were canceling the UK premiere, but they would definitely have the US premiere. Well, now they're not even having the US premiere. At least not at the level that was expected. Everything has been scaled back. That's the term. Scaled back. Because Disney knows this is a failure. It was destined to be a failure, and then it just got worse as time went on. Even from Disney directly. At The Hollywood Reporter, inside Disney's Snow White troubles, quote, they need to get this over with. Disney live-action Snow White reboot starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot seemed like a can't-miss project 5 years ago. I want to take issue with that. I have no idea who thought this would be a can't-miss project. Anytime you do a live-action version of something that was animation, it's a major risk. It's one thing for Disney to screw up Marvel. That is a big deal, and it was a very valuable franchise. And they absolutely should not have done that. And it's another thing for them to screw up Lucasfilm's Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Those are also big deals. Very valuable franchises. But Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is one of the core building blocks that made Disney Disney. It's one of the things that made them like the animation company, the number one animation company that anyone could conceive of, even though they're not really consistently number one in animation anymore. But if you want to take a risk on buying someone else's intellectual property and then mess around with those things or take advantage of them and use them for your own political goals, that's one thing. But you ought to at least stay out of your own house. Don't take the family jewels and gamble them when you don't need to do that. But that's what they did here, and now they have to pay the price. Now, they did have a premiere in Spain. It's not like they didn't have a premiere, but they had to do it in secret from the Daily Mail. Inside the Snow White premiere so woke it had to be held in secret. A remote Spanish castle, no press, just one star and a handful of influencers, while Jewish Gal Gadot is missing. What's the issue with her being Jewish Gal Gadot? Well, there's a confrontation between Rachel Zegler, who's playing Snow White, and Gal Gadot, who's playing the evil queen. Because Rachel Zegler supports Palestine, and Gal Gadot, being an Israeli and someone who's been in the IDF, she supports Israel. So you've got that natural conflict going on, but they don't just keep it behind the scenes. From Yahoo News, Snow White problems escalate as Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler clash. And if that's not enough from TMZ, you have dwarf actors who are angry. Why? Because they replaced the magical creatures, but they did it with CGI. They could have just hired actual dwarves. We do have some that are actors. They could have found enough of them who knew what they were doing and could easily perform. They might have been a hit from the movie. From TMZ, Snow White actor, who was actually in the movie, "Yeah, I'm grumpy. Disney rolls up red carpet over controversies." Here's what the voice of Grumpy had to say. Martin Kleba, the voice of Grumpy, one of the seven dwarfs in the new flick, tells TMZ he's seriously bummed and a bit pissed Disney axed what should have been a massive premiere for such a major film, all because of the ongoing controversies surrounding the film and stars Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler. Martin tells TMZ while Rachel, who plays Snow White, and Gal as the evil queen are entitled to their own political views and ideals, those personal opinions shouldn't have overshadowed everyone else's hard work, no matter about how much bitching about them is on social media. He's very wise. Keep your personal views out of social media if you're trying to promote a multi-million-dollar film. This is a commercial thing we're trying to do here, making a movie. Martin's no stranger to Disney premieres, having played the fan favorite Marty in the Pirates of the Caribbean series, and says Snow White deserved to be a major event, not just a ho-hum screening, which it is in comparison. Variety reported Disney is significantly scaling back the film's premiere due to multiple controversies, including reactions to the two female stars' political stances. As for the other controversy with little people not playing the dwarves and using CGI to replace them, Martin tells TMZ that as far as he knows, motion capture was always the plan and was not a knee-jerk reaction to Peter Dinklage blasting the project when it was announced. Well, that might be true. And if it were true, that's something Disney could have said at some point to help them with at least one of their controversies. But you have to admit everything Disney has tried to do to fix this film or promote this film or say good things about this film has pretty much worked against them. And they have tried a lot of tricks. One of their recent tricks was trying to associate this film with the animated Snow White with animated clips associated with the live action version, and that was worth a shot, but it just did not work. This movie absolutely should have been canceled. They could easily have thrown the money away and really not missed it. As much as Disney's stock is not doing amazing, they don't need an extra $200 or $300 million. They could have just written this off, taken the tax benefit, and said, hey, we can never replace the classic, and we appreciate everyone who worked on this. We'll work with them all again in the future, even if they won't. But we're going to instead re-release the animated classic. That will take us a year to be ready for it. We're going to be excited to do it. That's the real Snow White. And we're even going to call it Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, just like with the original title. They could have done that. They did not do that. They're doing this instead. And that's not the only dwarf who's mad. And I hope dwarf is the right word to use. I'm not using it in a pejorative way. From TMZ, Snow White controversy, 7 missed opportunities for actors like me, says Allie Chapman. Allie Chapman told TMZ the whole point of the OG film was the 7 dwarfs. So that was 7 missed chances for actors like her who would have loved to be part of the live action remake. How is Disney supposed to handle this? If you were going to do the live action thing, you should have used live action little people, dwarves, whatever people like to be called, because you can't say that not having little people in this movie is because you're being politically correct. What, they should not exist? They should just be considered animated characters, even in a live action movie? That's not right. And it may be that I'm not up on all the political correctness with regards to how you refer to or give opportunities to little people. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if that was unresolved, that would be a reason to say, you know what? No, we're not going to do this project. Let's revisit it in 5 or 10 years. If we're still that crazy about doing this live action project, we can always do it then. Allie elaborated that major studios shouldn't be taking jobs away from real people in favor of CGI. But when it comes to those hating on the movie, she's got a message. Don't boycott it, go watch it. From the Hollywood Reporter piece, Inside Disney's Snow White Troubles, quote, they need to get this over with. Disney's Snow White won't hit theaters until March 21st, but for the team at Disney, that date can't come soon enough. The female-targeted live-action event movie, which remakes Walt Disney's cherished 1937 animated classic, has been under fire for years on social media due to the combination of this film's progressive creative decisions and star Rachel Zegler's controversial comments, while also suffering from culture war attacks that seem doggedly determined to torpedo the perceived woke film no matter what. This film just brings out the worst in people because it's a violation of what everyone knows was a classic that really triggered people's excitement in animation, triggered in a good way, got people excited about movies, about animation, about stories, about characters, the music. There were tremendous innovations in the production of the animation. It was like what Pixar has done for movies. Disney did that with animation early on. This is not a successful movie that you ought to be messing with. This is something that you need to take out every now and then and say, this is one of our classics that, of course, was of its time. And like all classics, you can learn from it. You're not supposed to change it to try to fit to modern audiences or what the mood is of the day that, of course, is already changing and it's going to change in another few years. Classics last forever. Modern audience nonsense becomes very quickly dated and becomes out of date. And once out of date, it's culturally irrelevant. The original Snow White animated classic is never going to be irrelevant. And with all their power, all their control, all their money, Disney can never make the original movie irrelevant. And that's why they should have never tried. As a result of the impending doom, Disney is handling the movie's rollout in some unique ways. In news that broke earlier this week, Disney is taking next-level measures to stage manage the film's world premiere in Los Angeles on March 15th. Now they claim here the event won't be scaled back, as some headlines claim, but the studio isn't allowing red carpet press to attend in order to prevent Zegler and Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, from answering questions on the spot. The studio's official position is that they opted for a more celebratory, family-friendly afternoon event to match the tone and target audience for the film, which is, of course, nonsense. A family-friendly event when you're promoting a movie doesn't include the media? Because someone in your family might say something that could additionally tank the movie? It's a little bit hard to believe. Snow White isn't the first major film to manage a red carpet in such a restricted way, though. Warner Brothers did much the same for the world premiere of The Flash, starring the embattled Ezra Miller. But Miller had been accused of several criminal acts, whereas Zegler simply has generated social media blowback for comments including criticizing the original film, supporting Palestine, and slamming Donald Trump. Zegler actually said that she hopes that people who support Donald Trump never know peace in their lives. That's what she said. So I assume she doesn't want those people to go see the movie. But on top of everything else she said, and yes, people are understanding, and we know that there's something a little bit perhaps wrong with Ms. Zegler, it just burned even more bridges than she didn't even have to burn. Gadot, meanwhile, is a divisive figure on social media due to the Israeli actress speaking out in support of her native country since the October 7th terror attack by Hamas. After her appearance at the Oscars, a baseless rumor circulated online that the Wonder Woman star refused to present Best Documentary to the Palestinian film No Other Land, and her representative said that she was never asked. The film also isn't getting a traditional UK premiere. Instead, Zegler, who won an open casting call to portray Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, performed in front of the castle in Segovia, Spain that inspired the castle in Walt Disney's original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Even before the LA premiere news, there was a sense that Disney was being a bit bashful about Snow White. Get it? Bashful's the name of a dwarf. From the movie. One theater owner and a rival studio source says Disney's massive marketing machine has been uncharacteristically quiet until recently, noting advanced ticket sales didn't commence until Monday, less than 2 weeks before the film's release. Many of the studio's live-action family tentpoles in recent years have typically become available to book at least 1 month before the film opens, including last year's Mufasa the Lion King and 2023 summer tentpole The Little Mermaid. Snow White, however, is a spring title coming out during a particularly quiet year, meaning it had little competition of rival films for girls and older females. Which is to say, if they were proud of what they had, they could have easily promoted it and sold more tickets. Well, they've been going through the motions on Snow White, all but saying, we need to get this thing over with, an exhibition source tells The Hollywood Reporter. Quote, an advanced sales cycle of less than 2 weeks just screams, quote, we have zero faith in this thing, and it couldn't come at a worse point when the industry is just trying to limp along to May. Disney insiders dispute this narrative, saying they always intended to hold back the film's promotional push until the final few weeks. Billboards have popped up all over LA, and the film's stars have also been doing long and short lead interviews, culminating with a junket this coming weekend with director Mark Webb. Many of the press appearances so far have been for outlets that one might perceive as rather safe. Gadot has made the rounds with Good Morning America, Live with Kelly and Mark, and The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Zegler, meanwhile, was sent to Tokyo, where she performed Waiting on a Wish, the first single from Walt Disney Records' original soundtrack for the film. 5 years ago, Disney could have hardly imagined that its two leading ladies would end up both drawing fire for their political views while on opposite ends of the ideological spectrum. Literally, the two of them are ideologically opposed on different sides in a war in the Middle East. It just shows you this film was cursed from the beginning. Much worse than a poisoned apple. I know, I thought that was kind of clever. You know, they have an apple in Snow White. It's got poison in it. And from the Daily Mail, this just came out. Shocking new claims about Snow White star Rachel Zegler as Disney ramps up damage control after controversy. The worst thing about this entire thing is featured here in the beginning of this article. Rachel Zegler refused to sing the beloved song Someday My Prince Will Come from the 1937 Disney classic, stating it was weird that the movie focused on Snow White's love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Any serious executive at Disney, when she refused to sing that classic song, should have said, okay, Rachel, thanks for joining the team, but you've got to go now. If that conversation was had prior to them signing her on, it's really unforgivable. But even with her being signed on, come on, enough already with her. They should have thrown her out. They deserve everything they're getting here. And even Disney knows there's nothing they can do except expect disaster. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.